Hi, I'm Amy McArdle from Amy Young Designs. We are a boutique luxury design firm based in Palm Beach Gardens, Jupiter, Florida. What appealed to me about interior design is started like at a really, really young age. I know a lot of designers say, you know, we were arranging our bedrooms every week. That literally is, I think, all of us because my parents would come into my room every week and they'd be like, oh, this is like a completely new room. Like, but that also helped us prepare for it what an actual interior designer does, because people don't realize it's also very physical. We're always moving boxes. We're half movers, so we were like physically moving these furnitures at a very young age. I was always interested in space, how the space flowed, how the different furnitures work together. So I always wanted to go into architectural or interior design, and life sort of, made me take a detour, and I went through a very unconventional path. And I ended up studying political science and East Asian studies, and interior design career came in my late 20s, but it was always there. I was always very, very interested, and there was always my passion. For me, I was very lucky because when we first moved to Jupiter, Florida from New York, my husband had us move here because he wanted to pursue professional golf. So he was, in a world where he was among a lot of athletes and golfers, and he was a golfer in college. So it was a very complete opposite of how I grew up, where I grew up in Seoul. And, yes, they're athletes, but not in the sense of how, in the US, it's such a strong industry. And so when he was trying to play professional golf, he became friends with a lot of the athletes. And, we had just moved here. I was starting my own firm. And, I like to say nicely, I sort of bullied them into saying, hey, can I please do your room? Like, I'll do it for free. Um, you know, so it was very serendipitous. And every job I did, I tried to do a really good job, making everybody happy, the wife and the husband and, the whole family. So I learned a lot along the way too. It's not just about making this room look pretty. It's about, okay, how do you live? When you come back from a long day, especially in Florida, it's like 100 degrees during the summer. You don't want to come back to a dark, moody room per se. You want to come, just everyone lives differently. So I learned a lot, and I feel like from then on, word of mouth. I believe made me a better designer because I feel like politics really taught me how to read a room, literally and figuratively. It taught me about diplomacy, timing, discretion, and how to listen to what people were really trying to say beneath the words. Especially in design, people sometimes don't know the correct words to convey what they're trying to say. And sometimes what they're saying might be the complete opposite of what they mean. And I believe design is so incredibly personal. You're dealing with people's marriages and families, routines, and insecurity and aspirations and all of those things because they show in your home. And so I feel like my background in politics really helped me understand that a good designer is not just about choosing like furniture and finishes, but it's about managing these different things and different personalities and expectations and sometimes conflict. Have some tension in the design, not in a bad way, but tension as in, a lot of clients feel nervous when things are not matching. Like, oh, I'm doing like a brush nickel here, we should do brush nickel everywhere. Or, hey, let's get this nightstand because we're getting the dresser from here or the light from here. And it's like, not everything has to match. there needs to be some give and take and tension. Um, you know, they want to feel safe because, they're like, okay, well, I'm going to live in it. I'm not sure that this will work. And for me to be like confident enough to say, we need to have some tension and old and new. That's why you're hiring us. You're trusting us to try to like sort of push you and say, let's try this and it'll be okay. 100% of the time, they're always happy at the end. Mostly, I wish I had known that it was a lot about leadership and confidence and boundaries. And I think that would have been the most fair to both us designers and the client. Because I do feel like our industry is such a defensive industry where, contractors or lawyers or doctors, you charge what you charge and there's no real question about it. But for designers, it's a lot of defending why we are doing the things we are doing and why we are charging the way we are. And maybe it's because so many different designers charge differently. But, I think, nowadays, people are charging similarly. But to be able to set a structure and to be able to explain why and to have boundaries, I think that would have been such a big lesson and thing to know before I started all of this 12 years ago. For my Kips Decorator show house in Palm Beach, which we just finished in March, I was assigned a small kitchen and breakfast nook. And we created a space where I wanted people to come in and feel like it was a boutique hotel. So we named the space the Breakfast Club After Hours. And I said, oh my gosh, imagine going to a boutique hotel where it's very moody but feminine and still will appeal to everybody who's wanting espresso in the morning and espresso martini at night. And, to sort of show people, this is also someone's home, but it's all about rituals, beautiful rituals. We do all of these things throughout the day from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to bed. And these spaces, especially in a boutique hotel, you wake up and you'll go to a little coffee shop or like a breakfast nook and, you're having a martini. No, scratch that. I meant to say espresso, not martini in the morning. And just to show that, a ritual can be beautiful. And it's like the most simple task that you could be doing. But if your space is beautiful, if it flows naturally, it's, your day starts beautifully. How much of my work is rooted in my background of growing up in South Korea and my time while I was in politics working at the UN and in politicians' offices. It really shaped how I think, how I approach each project and client. Design-wise, when I look at different things to, put into the mood board or present to the client, of course, I'm always thinking about the client, but I'm always thinking, okay, what's meaningful? What's the history behind this home that they're going to be building? Because obviously they're purchasing everything new, but, they're starting their own history of, traditions and pieces. So I feel like growing up in a country where antique pieces were really prevalent, but then at the same time, South Koreans are super into new things and what's the new trend and all of those things. So it's constant mix of old and new. And I think I really try to implement that into my projects. I was born in Albany, New York, upstate New York. And my father was a professor at SUNY Albany. My mother had just moved over from Germany, and they had gotten married. And when I was 6 months old, they moved back to South Korea. So I have a US passport, but I grew up like my entire life in South Korea. I went to an American school. I graduated high school there. And so when I moved back to the States, it was when I was in college. I went to school in Boston.